Why does one of the most studied places on Earth still hide structures no one can fully explain? And why are we only allowed to see part of the story? What if I told you that the pyramids of Giza are not the true mystery? For centuries, humanity has stared at what rises above the sand, measuring heights, angles, and stones. For thousands of years, the pyramids of Giza have dominated the horizon, standing like immovable giants against the desert sky. Tourists arrive, cameras rise, and the same question is asked again and again: how were they built? But almost no one asks the more unsettling question, the one that ancient builders may have considered far more important: what exists beneath them? Because under the sand, under the limestone bedrock, beneath the very foundations of the Giza Plateau, there is another world, one that does not appear on postcards or guidebooks, and one that Egyptologists rarely discuss in detail. This hidden world is not a single chamber or an isolated tunnel. It is a complex underground landscape, layered, deliberate, and astonishingly vast. Early explorers who entered the pyramids in the 19th century believed the monuments were self-contained structures. That assumption collapsed the moment shafts, descending corridors, and sealed passageways were documented beneath the Great Pyramid. The lowest chamber, often dismissed as unfinished, is carved deep into the bedrock itself. It was not added later. It was planned from the very beginning, meaning the builders started underground before a single stone was placed above the surface. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable. If the pyramids were merely royal tombs, why begin construction by digging into the earth? Why create descending passageways that lead away from burial chambers instead of toward them? Why build vertical shafts so narrow they seem symbolic rather than functional, aligned precisely with cardinal directions and celestial points? As researchers expanded their surveys beyond the pyramids themselves, they discovered that the plateau is riddled with shafts, cavities, and hidden voids. Some are natural, but many show unmistakable signs of human modification. Smooth-cut walls, right angles, sealed entrances, features that cannot be explained by erosion or coincidence. These are not random holes in the ground. They form a pattern. Beneath the causeways, under the temples, and beyond the Great Pyramid's footprint, underground structures extend like veins beneath stone. Some tunnels lead nowhere obvious. Others end abruptly, as if access was intentionally cut off. In certain locations, the ground resonates differently when scanned, suggesting empty spaces that remain untouched to this day. What's most striking is how little of this underground world is accessible. Modern visitors see less than a fraction of what exists below. Many shafts are blocked. Some entrances are sealed with stone plugs so precise they appear fused to the surrounding rock. Others are simply marked and left unexplored, documented but never entered. Ancient Egyptian texts add another layer of mystery. References to the Duat, a subterranean realm connected to transformation, knowledge, and rebirth appear repeatedly in funerary literature. While often interpreted symbolically, the physical reality beneath Giza suggests these stories may have been rooted in real spaces. Places meant not for the dead alone, but for rituals, initiations, or something far more complex. The more we learn, the clearer it becomes that the pyramids are only half the story. What rises above the desert is impressive, but what lies below challenges everything we think we know. The hidden world beneath the sands of Giza was engineered with intention, precision, and purpose. It was not an afterthought. It was the foundation. When people imagine the pyramids being swallowed by sand, they picture time, wind, and nature slowly reclaiming the monuments. But the truth is far more unsettling. Many of the underground structures beneath Giza were not lost accidentally. They were hidden deliberately. This becomes clear the moment you study how these spaces were sealed. Ancient builders did not simply abandon tunnels and walk away. They closed them with precision. Massive stone plugs were slid into place, some weighing several tons, locking passageways so tightly that even modern tools struggle to remove them. These were not crude blockages. They were engineered closures designed to last for eternity. Inside the Great Pyramid, the ascending passage is famously blocked by granite plugs that fit so perfectly they appear almost welded into position. These plugs were installed from above, meaning the builders anticipated intrusion long before it could happen. This raises a disturbing question. What were they trying to protect or prevent others from reaching? If burial chambers were the goal, sealing them would make sense. But many of these blockages guard passages that do not lead to royal tombs at all. Some lead downward. Others lead toward empty spaces. A few terminate in sealed doors with copper fittings, objects that had no structural function but were clearly symbolic. These doors were never meant to be opened again. The pattern repeats across the plateau. Shafts are filled. Entrances are disguised. Entire sections are buried under layers of limestone debris and sand that appear intentionally placed rather than naturally accumulated. In some areas, excavation records show that fill material does not match the surrounding geology, suggesting it was transported and dumped deliberately to conceal what lay beneath. Why go to such extraordinary lengths? One explanation offered by mainstream archaeology is security protection from tomb robbers. But this argument collapses under scrutiny. Tomb robbers did not target unfinished chambers, sealed shafts, or spaces with no visible treasures. Yet those are the very areas that were most carefully hidden. The effort invested in concealment far exceeds what would be necessary to protect gold or grave goods. Another possibility is ritual secrecy. In ancient Egypt, knowledge itself was power. Certain rituals, texts, and practices were restricted to a select few. Spaces associated with these rites may have been concealed once their purpose was fulfilled. If the underground structures were used for ceremonies tied to kingship, rebirth, or cosmic order, sealing them would preserve their sanctity. There is also the possibility of fear not of human intruders, but of what knowledge could do if misunderstood or misused. Ancient civilizations often treated powerful information as dangerous. By burying these spaces, the builders may have believed they were protecting future generations from something they were not meant to access. Modern discoveries complicate the story even further. When ground-penetrating scans detect voids that align perfectly with sealed corridors, it suggests a planned system of access and denial. Certain areas were meant to be entered. Others were meant to remain untouched forever. The architecture itself enforces that decision. What makes this deliberate burial so unsettling is its permanence. These were not temporary closures. They were final acts. The builders sealed these structures knowing they would never return. They left no signs, no instructions, no explanations. Just silence beneath the stone. And when we realize that some of these hidden spaces lie directly beneath monuments meant to symbolize eternal order, it becomes impossible to ignore the implication that what was buried was just as important, if not more so, than what was left in plain sight. The deeper researchers look beneath the sands of Giza, the more uncomfortable the comparison becomes, because the underground structures do not behave like relics of a primitive society. They behave like the product of advanced planning, specialized knowledge, and technological confidence that modern observers struggle to explain using conventional timelines. Start with the cuts in the stone. Underground chambers and shafts beneath the plateau are carved directly into limestone bedrock with surfaces that are strikingly smooth and consistent. These are not rough, exploratory tunnels. They follow straight lines, maintain uniform angles, and intersect with deliberate precision. In some places, the tolerances are so tight that even today, recreating them would require heavy machinery, laser alignment, and extensive surveying. The common explanation is copper tools and human labor, but copper dulls quickly against limestone and even faster against granite. To carve long, straight corridors underground without modern lighting, ventilation, or power would require not only immense manpower, but extraordinary control. And yet, there are no signs of trial and error. No abandoned mistakes. No half-collapsed passages. The execution appears confident, as if the builders knew exactly what they were doing before they began. Then there is alignment. Many underground features beneath Giza are oriented with astonishing accuracy toward cardinal directions. Some shafts appear aligned with specific stellar positions that were relevant thousands of years ago. Achieving this level of precision above ground is difficult enough. Achieving it underground, without modern instruments, pushes the limits of what we believe ancient surveying methods could accomplish. Modern engineers examining these structures often find themselves reversing the usual question. Instead of asking how ancient people managed with limited tools, they ask what kind of knowledge would be required to produce these results. The answer is never simple. It involves geometry, astronomy, geology, and logistics on a scale that suggests a highly organized system of expertise. Even more puzzling is how the builders managed the environment underground. Ventilation shafts some no wider than a human hand run from deep chambers to the exterior, maintaining airflow with remarkable efficiency. These are not random cracks. They are engineered channels angled precisely to avoid structural weakness while maintaining function. Modern buildings rely on similar principles, yet these were implemented thousands of years ago in solid rock. Excavation marks also tell a story. In certain chambers, the stone appears to have been removed in consistent layers, almost as if the builders followed a standardized method. The rhythm of the cuts suggests planning, not improvisation. And when those chambers were finished, they were often left empty, not decorated, not inscribed, not celebrated, implying that their importance lay in function, not appearance. This clashes violently with modern assumptions. We are taught that ancient Egypt was technologically limited, advancing slowly over centuries. But the underground world beneath Giza does not reflect gradual experimentation, it reflects mastery. There is no visible learning curve. The techniques appear suddenly, fully developed, and then disappear. What makes this even more troubling is that some of this knowledge seems to have been lost. Later Egyptian structures do not always match the same level of precision. It is as if a capability existed briefly, was applied at Giza, and then faded from history. When modern scientists use non-invasive scanning technologies to analyze these underground spaces, they often find anomalies they cannot immediately interpret, voids where none should exist. Density variations that suggest hidden structures, geometries that feel intentional but resist simple explanation. At some point, the comparison stops being flattering to modern understanding and starts exposing its limits. The underground engineering beneath the sands of Giza forces us to confront the possibility that ancient technology was not merely different from ours, but in some ways, frighteningly sophisticated. When people imagine archaeological discovery, they picture open digs, excited announcements, and history being rewritten in real time. But the reality beneath the sands of Giza is far more controlled, far more selective, and in many cases deliberately silent. Some of the most intriguing discoveries connected to the plateau are not unknown because they were never found, they are unknown because access to them is restricted. From the earliest modern explorations, researchers encountered limits. Certain shafts were mapped but not entered. Certain chambers were documented and then sealed again. Field notes mention anomalies that never appeared in final reports. In archives and old expedition records, there are references to inaccessible features and areas not cleared, phrases that quietly signal a boundary no one was permitted to cross. As Egypt became more protective of its heritage, restrictions intensified. Official explanations focus on preservation, safety, and respect for cultural heritage. These reasons are valid, but they do not explain why non-invasive technologies, which pose no physical risk, are also sometimes limited in scope. When scans reveal unexpected voids or structures, further investigation is often postponed indefinitely. One of the most striking patterns is that research beneath Giza rarely follows curiosity to its natural conclusion. Discoveries lead to more questions, yet those questions are not always pursued. Instead, the narrative resets. Findings are framed to fit existing models, and anything that challenges those models is labeled inconclusive or speculative. This has led to a strange situation where we know just enough to realize how much we are not being shown. Ground-penetrating radar, Mon tomography, and seismic scans have all detected anomalies beneath the plateau spaces where solid rock should be, alignments that suggest design rather than chance. Yet public explanations remain vague, carefully worded, and non-committal. Independent researchers face even greater barriers. Access to the plateau is tightly controlled. Permits are limited. Data sharing is restricted. Raw scan results are rarely released in full. Instead, the public receives summaries, interpretations, and conclusions filtered through institutional approval. Critics argue that this creates a form of academic gatekeeping, not necessarily driven by conspiracy but by caution. admitting that the underground world beneath Giza does not fit established timelines would force a reevaluation of core assumptions about ancient history. That kind of shift carries professional and cultural consequences. There are also political dimensions. The pyramids are not just archaeological sites. They are national symbols. Any discovery that destabilizes their accepted story risks creating controversy. And controversy in archaeology can be as unwelcome as it is unavoidable. What makes the situation even more unsettling is that hints of suppressed curiosity appear in the behavior of researchers themselves. In interviews, some scientists speak enthusiastically about unexplored spaces, then abruptly change tone when asked whether further investigation will occur. Promising leads fade into silence. Planned studies quietly disappear. The result is a landscape where knowledge exists in fragments, enough to suggest something extraordinary beneath the sands, but never enough to fully understand it. This controlled exposure creates the illusion of transparency while maintaining strict boundaries around what is allowed to be known. The pyramids above ground invite wonder. The world beneath them invites questions. But between those questions and their answers stands a system that decides when curiosity must stop and what remains buried is not just stone and earth, but the possibility of a very different past for generations. Myths surrounding the Giza Plateau have been treated as poetic, imagination symbolic stories created to explain the afterlife, the gods, and the journey of the soul. But when these ancient narratives are read alongside the physical evidence beneath the sands, something unsettling begins to emerge. Many of these myths describe places that sound less like abstract realms and more like actual locations. Ancient Egyptian texts repeatedly reference an underground domain, a hidden world beneath the earth where transformation occurs. The Duat is described not as a distant heaven, but as a structured realm filled with gates, corridors, chambers, and guardians. The language is architectural. Souls travel through tunnels, pass sealed doors, and navigate precise pathways. These are not vague metaphors, they read like directions. For centuries, scholars interpreted these descriptions as symbolic maps of the afterlife. But symbolism does not explain the consistency. Across different dynasties and texts, the layout remains remarkably stable. Gates appear in specific sequences. Chambers are numbered, directions matter. The journey is not chaotic, it is controlled. Now consider what exists beneath Giza: descending passageways, sealed chambers, narrow shafts that lead to hidden spaces, areas accessible only through precise routes. The parallels are difficult to ignore. What if these texts were not inventing imaginary landscapes, but encoding real spaces known only to priests and kings? Other myths deepen the mystery. Stories of gods emerging from the earth or knowledge being hidden beneath sacred ground appear repeatedly in Egyptian lore. The god Osiris, associated with death and rebirth, is said to reside in a hidden realm below the surface. His dismembered body is buried in multiple locations, some of which were believed to lie near or beneath major monuments. This fragmentation mirrors the physical reality of underground spaces spread across the plateau. There are also legends of secret chambers containing powerful objects, books of knowledge, divine instruments, or records of ancient events. These stories are often dismissed as allegory, but allegory does not require precise geographic associations. These myths frequently anchor themselves to real places, temples, pyramids, and sacred hills. Early Arab historians, writing long after the age of the pharaohs, recorded local traditions that spoke of hidden rooms beneath the pyramids filled with texts and artifacts preserved from a lost age. While these accounts are not considered academically reliable, their persistence is telling. Oral traditions tend to survive only when tied to physical landmarks. Even the concept of guardians appears repeatedly. In myth, the underworld is protected by beings who prevent the unworthy from passing. In reality, the underground world of Giza is protected by architectural obstacles, stone plugs, false doors, narrow shafts that discourage entry. Functionally, these serve the same purpose. What's especially striking is that these myths never place the underworld far away. It is always close. Beneath the feet of the living, hidden in plain sight, accessible but only to those who know the way. That description fits the Giza Plateau with unsettling precision. As modern technology reveals more about what lies beneath the sand, the line between myth and memory begins to blur. Stories once dismissed as fantasy start to look like distorted echoes of real spaces and real practices. The myths may not be exaggerations. They may be simplified records of a reality too complex or too sacred to describe openly. If that is true, then the underground structures beneath Giza were never meant to be forgotten. They were remembered in story, encoded in ritual, and preserved in myth, waiting for a time when humanity would finally look beneath the surface and realize that legends often begin with something very real hidden in the dark beneath the earth. In the past, uncovering the secrets beneath Giza required picks, torches, and dangerous descents into the unknown. Today, the approach is very different. No sand is moved. No stone is touched. Instead, scientists look through the ground itself, using technology so advanced that they can detect empty spaces without ever opening them. And what these scans are quietly revealing is forcing researchers to confront questions they were never prepared to answer. One of the most powerful tools now used at Giza is Mon tomography. By tracking cosmic particles that pass naturally through stone, scientists can create three-dimensional images of what lies beneath massive structures. When this technology was first applied to the Great Pyramid, it confirmed something extraordinary. Large voids exist where solid rock was expected. These were not small cracks or natural caves. They were expansive, geometric spaces with dimensions that suggested intentional design. What made this discovery unsettling was not just the voids themselves, but their placement. They were located in structurally significant areas, aligned with existing passages and chambers. This meant the builders had accounted for these spaces from the very beginning. They were not accidental weaknesses. They were planned features. Ground-penetrating radar has added another layer to the picture. Surveys across parts of the plateau have detected networks of anomalies beneath the surface, linear forms that resemble tunnels, rectangular shapes that suggest rooms, and sudden changes in density that cannot be easily explained by geology alone. In some cases, these anomalies appear beneath areas previously believed to be fully understood. Seismic scans complicate the story further. By sending vibrations through the ground and analyzing how they reflect, researchers can identify voids and structural differences deep below the surface. These studies have hinted at multiple underground levels, not just isolated features. The plateau, it seems, is layered with hidden architecture. What is striking is how cautiously these findings are presented. Official statements emphasize uncertainty. Words like anomaly and possibility dominate the language. Rarely do researchers speculate publicly about function or purpose. The data exists, but interpretation remains restrained. This restraint creates an unusual tension. On one hand, technology is revealing more than ever before. On the other, the narrative remains tightly controlled. Discoveries are acknowledged, but their implications are left unexplored in public discourse. Some scans suggest that certain voids are connected, forming pathways beneath the surface. Others appear isolated, sealed off from everything around them. The geometry of these spaces implies intentional separation, areas meant to be accessed and areas meant to remain closed. What makes these revelations so powerful is that they bypass the old arguments. No ancient texts are required. No speculative theories are needed. The data comes directly from the ground itself. It shows shape, size, and position. It does not explain why these spaces exist, but it proves that they do. As scanning technologies improve, resolution increases. What once appeared as vague shadows now begins to resemble architecture. Straight lines emerge, corners sharpen, patterns form. And with every improvement, the question grows louder. For millennia, the pyramids of Giza have captivated humanity, standing as monuments to human ambition, ingenuity, and mystery. Above the desert, their grandeur is undeniable. But beneath the surface, an entire hidden world challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt. Tunnels, chambers, and voids hint at purpose, planning, and knowledge far beyond what modern understanding can easily explain. From deliberate burials of underground spaces to advanced engineering that surpasses expectations, the evidence suggests the pyramids were never meant to be fully understood at first glance. Myths, rituals, and ancient texts may have preserved fragments of this hidden reality, encoding secrets into story and tradition while the sands kept them out of reach. And now, with cutting-edge technology quietly revealing what lies beneath, the lines between legend, history, and archaeology are blurring like never before. The sands of Giza have long hidden their truth, but each new discovery peels back another layer, showing that the pyramids are far more than tombs. They are gateways to a subterranean world, a carefully designed system that held knowledge, power, and perhaps mysteries that humanity is only beginning to glimpse. What lies beneath may finally force us to reconsider not only how the pyramids were built, but why and for whom. The hidden world under Giza is a reminder that history is never fully written, and that the answers we seek may have been buried in plain sight all along.